All right, everybody. Paulo here, your personal trainer. So this is not really the type of video that I like to do because people might think, oh my God, are you some kind of professor? Are you giving us a lecture? Kind of not a professor, but the reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of people ask me, can you tell us why your way of training is the best optimal approach in order to build muscle mass and why we should do it as well. And well, I'm going to explain to you why on details, because people love details. And I'm going to explain to you why I train myself this way, why I train my clients. Most importantly, this is not something that I created. I've just tried it on myself, and I want to help others to do the same thing. Save time at the gym, save your joints, get faster, maybe even better results, and explain to you why. First of all, the way that I train, this is not something that I created. It comes from Arthur Jones, the creator of Nautilus Machine, and then Mike Menzer. He was the pioneer of heavy-duty training. And then you have Dorian Yates and many other bodybuilders that used to train this way. Let's go back to the 50s. There were two scientists, Delorme and Watkins, that discovered in order to build muscle mass, in order to help injured soldiers after the Second World War, to help them build back their muscle mass, what triggers your body, the signal that triggers muscle growth, is the intensity of effort. And all you needed was one set to failure. Yes, they did more sets, but the sets that the soldier performed before were only nothing more than a warm-up, to warm up your joints and your nervous system in order to perform one working set to failure. When I say training to failure, I mean real failure, because I see a lot of videos of people claiming that they are training to failure, and then you look at them and they're not really achieving true muscle failure. Muscle failure is when the intensity of effort is so elevated that you're not able to move the weight anymore. You're pushing as hard as you can to 100% of your effort, and the weight is not moving anymore. That is true failure. Then Mike Menzer and other guys, they went beyond, like Dorian Yates. So now that you know that what you need in order to trigger that signal of adaptation, because remember, the muscles that you create are nothing more than adaptation, okay? And remember, it's like turning on a fire, or even better, the light. You don't need to press that button multiple times in order to turn on the light. You can try yourself at home. You go home, you press the button one time, and you're gonna realize you can turn the light just with one click. Same for the fire, right? Obviously, you're gonna have to try multiple times, but when you get that particular chemical reaction, there is only one, is what is gonna trigger either turning on the light or the fire to start. Well, it's the same thing with muscle growth. That last almost impossible set is what is gonna trigger your body, to send a signal to your body to trigger muscle growth. Now that we know this, we're going to move to this recovery. You're going to have to fill up again the energy that you went to use to perform the workout, okay, and build back what you destroyed, okay. And then this guy here, the overcompensation, where a lot of people seems to forget the importance of overcompensation. Remember, in this video, we are talking about exclusively of hypertrophy, not learning a skill like getting stronger, getting faster, or how to do mathematics, or none of that, just purely muscle growth, okay? So, overcompensation, it doesn't happen during the workout. Remember, you don't get bigger and stronger during the workout, but it is when you rest. Overcompensation doesn't take 1 or 2 days. It can take up to 14 days, even for your nervous system to recover, right? So once you recovered and once you overcompensated, you put back more muscle tension than before, you're gonna be ready to perform another workout. Get weaker to then get stronger, okay? So, the workout is what triggers muscle growth, okay? And going even more deeply is the intensity of effort and progressive overload, which is either increasing the weight, the amount of weight that you're lifting, or the number of repetitions to get to muscle failure, okay? This is the volume and frequency. Sorry for my bad writing, but in the beginning, if you're a beginner, doing high volume, high frequency is completely fine. You must do high volume, high frequency. Why? Because, again, it is like learning a skill. In order to learn a certain type of movement, like playing an instrument, learning a language, or anything else, you gotta have to repeat that movement, that pattern, multiple times, okay? Plus, a beginner usually doesn't know how to achieve true muscle failure. Even though his intensity of effort is elevated, he doesn't know his body enough to push that hard. Now you might say, okay, well, if this is the best way to train to get to muscle growth, why? And I just want to open a little parenthesis here. You're gonna get a lot of results training high frequency, high volume in the beginning, including me. That's how I used to train before. High volume, high frequency. And yes, you can get a lot of results, but sooner or later, you're gonna overtrain, you're gonna get to a sticking point, and you're not gonna be able to improve anymore. I am the perfect example. I started having a lot of body aches, knees, shoulders, and I wasn't improving anymore, okay? If you try yourself, you're gonna see the first year, you're gonna get a lot of results, but then you won't be able to progress anymore. So, why most of these bodybuilders and most of the people do high volume, high frequency, the famous 3 sets, 10 reps? Well, because from the 70s, after the specific studies that I mentioned before, these people from the bodybuilding community, Arnold and many others that you know, they were using enhancing drugs, and they had the power, the capacity of training more often with more volume. 3 days a week, 3 hours a day, even more sometimes, 6 days, 7 days a week, okay? They could do it because they were using, and the modern bodybuilders is the same, enhancing drugs, okay? To get to the same point, okay? To get to that particular stimulus to trigger muscle growth, okay? The point is, You might say, why they didn't do high intensity, just one set? Well, because it is damn hard to train high intensity. And some people, they can't tolerate high intensity training. Like some people, they can't tolerate high sun exposure or some other stress to their body. They don't like it, or they can't tolerate it, okay? So in order to get to the same stimulus, okay, in order to try to turn on the light, they had to do it multiple times, okay, more volume, more frequency. And they could recover from it because of the enhancing drugs. But it comes down to a few problems: high volume, high intensity, high frequency. First, wear and tear of your joints. Sooner or later, because of the high volume, continuous movement and stuff, you're gonna destroy your joints, okay? Second, yes, it's gonna work in the beginning, but if you're natural, you're gonna sooner or later overtrain. You're gonna get to a sticking point and you won't improve. Try to do Ronnie Coleman training, try to do Arnold training as a natural bodybuilder. There's no way you're gonna be able to recover. You're gonna overtrain, you're gonna get smaller and fatter, trust me. So far, I think I've explained the difference in how high intensity works, okay? Remember, what causes your muscle, the signal that causes your muscle to adapt and grow more muscle tissue, is exactly the same to every person on planet Earth. Everyone needs the same type of stimulus to trigger the signal of muscle growth. Everybody, okay? The stimulus is the same to everybody. There's only one thing that changes. This is where we're gonna go here to the bell curve. The bell curve, if you're not familiar with it, is just a graphic where it shows where on average most people falls, not only on muscle growth, but can be suntan, IQ, or anything, learning a skill or something. Okay, so talking about muscle growth, what changes? If the stimulus is the same, what changes? Capacity of recovery, okay? Again, I'm talking about natural lifters. If you're a bodybuilder that is using enhancing drugs, you don't care anymore about this. You can recover faster and quicker, okay? But if you're natural, on average, people falls here, okay, in the middle of the curve. Then you have the exceptions, obviously, who can recover faster, and people that can recover slower, okay, and slowly, they need more time to recover. Remember, the capacity of recovery, if somebody can recover faster, doesn't mean it's gonna get better results than somebody is gonna recover that need more time to recover, okay? All of them, if they done the things properly, gonna get to the same destination, okay? What is gonna change is the time required to get to destination, to hypertrophy, to get bigger, right? But remember, somebody that can recover faster doesn't mean he's gonna get better results. He's just gonna get there faster. Somebody that can recover slow, with more time, okay, that needs more time to recover, perhaps can get better results because genetic, or because they're doing the things better, workout, sleep, nutrition, and on and on and on, okay? Keep in mind that the signal is the same, the recovery time is different for people, from person to person, okay? So again, guys, in saying this is, try this to myself, I train in my clients, you can save a tons of time at the gym, training this way, and also you're gonna save your joints, okay? Because sooner or later, high volume, you're gonna get overtrained if you're natural, okay? So with my system of high intensity training that I didn't create, but I just adapted to myself and to my clients, I'm going to help you to achieve the same results better and faster, okay? Saving your joints, saving your time, okay? Then again, yes, you can get results from high volume, high frequency, but it comes down to a price, which is your joints, your time, and well, that is up to you. If you want to spend 6 days at the gym, 3 hours a day, fine, but I'm showing you a better way to save your joints, your time, and get to the same point, to the same destination in a more efficient way, okay? Hopefully this video has been clear, and I'll see you for the next video.